Hello everyone, and welcome back to Bugs Bunny Lost in Time on the Sony PlayStation 1. I am one Welsh sheep yet again, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we're tackling the Carrot Factory. I hate this stage.
Hey!
So yeah, this is the worst stage in the entire game, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Carrot Factory. This is probably, without a doubt, the most treacherous, the most trap-filled, and the most frustrating factory you will probably ever find yourself exploring in the course of a video game. With maybe the exception of, a Sonic level. But seriously, this stage is horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's too damn big. The draw distance of this game isn't big enough for the stage, so you can't really see where you're meant to go and where things are in the distance, making collecting collectibles and whatnot a pain in the ass. This is not a very, very, very fun stage. And the worst thing about it is this is without a doubt also one of the longest, if not the longest stage in the entire game, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But the main thing we're going to have to deal with during the course of this are loads of suction vacuums, loads of pipes, loads of water, and we need to press loads of buttons as well, which are a little bit tricky to handle, because when you're using the R1 button to activate things in the environment, if you just tap the R1 button, you'll find it won't really work all that well. What I find you need to do is you need to hold the button down. Otherwise, Bugs Bunny will just sort of stare at the button that he's meant to push and just go, "Duh, what do I do, boss?" So it can be a little bit annoying. But yeah, this is one of those stages where it's very likely you're going to die, and this is probably the point where I die the most during the course of the playthrough. I've cut out over God knows how many deaths, you know, ladies and gentlemen, just for the stage alone. But yeah, for the most part, it is treated like a massive obstacle course when you figure out which way you're meant to go, because it is a bit cryptic at some points which way is the right way. Then basically the stage devolves from a massive pain in the ass to just flat out navigate into an obstacle course that is just flat out extremely difficult, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And this stage is a big reason why I'm glad this game doesn't have a live system. That is one thing I'm always going to praise about this game. It doesn't have a live system. Because this was in an archaic time where live systems were everywhere in video games, and I don't think we really need to deal with lives anymore personally. I don't think lives are really necessary in video games this day and age. Hell, even in the classic games from years ago, I don't think lives are really a necessity anymore. Like, say, Streets of Rage, I honestly wouldn't argue if anyone did infinite live cheats on those games, you know, to get through the game without having to worry about the lives, because I don't know. Basically, I just think lives are an outdated concept, you know, folks. And I think most of the industry agrees with me as well, just because no games really have live systems anymore, with the exception of, like, maybe the Sonic games and Mario games. And even then, they give you so many damn lives, it's impossible to lose. Like, I'm in Mario 3D World, for example, I currently have, like, over 800 lives. I never 100% finished that game. I should get around to that. In Sonic Lost World, I have 99 lives, which I think is the limit in that game. You know, folks, I'm using those games as an example because those are the latest releases at the time of this recording. But basically, live systems aren't. I just don't think they're necessary. You know, ladies and gentlemen. So I will always praise this game for not having one. But anyway, now we're inside this massive warehouse type area. When we're in here, we need to try and chase down the mouse, because the mouse has stolen a key that was on the actual carrot sort of spillage pipe thing. So basically we need to hunt down this mouse and take the key off him and rip it right out of his hands. And in order to do that, we basically need to lay the beat down whenever he pops into the area. Whenever the mouse is in the area, a gigantic arrow will pop up on our head to tell us that he's there. As soon as we take him out, then we can basically leave. But I do advise, before you leave, just just look around the area as thoroughly as you can, because it is exceptionally easy to lose items. It is exceptionally easy to lose track of any collectibles and what have you that could potentially be in this warehouse, because, well, it's a warehouse. A lot of items tend to be tucked away in corners. They tend to be quite tricksy in order to find, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And apart from the pain in the ass of actually finding the items and whatnot, like finding clocks and golden carrots, I don't mind that area. I kind of like the warehouse area because it's a bit more of a... well, it's not a pain in the ass to navigate, unlike the rest of the stage. But I will give this stage credit for one thing. It is challenging. And when I die, generally, not all the time, but generally I feel that the death was my own fault, you know, ladies and gentlemen. So I will give credit which credit's due. The stage is a good challenge, especially compared to everything else in the game. Like, this is the hardest stage in the entire game. You know, folks. No stage that we're going to be going up against later down the line is harder than this. This is the pinnacle of difficulty of this game. And, you know, this isn't a hard game, all things considered, and chances are most of my failings are just me playing like a scrub. But, you know, I gotta bring up a point. I gotta talk about it, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But you'll find a lot of pathways we'll be going to during the course of this one will actually end up overlapping, and we'll end up going in different directions constantly, trying to find the correct way to go. So, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, ladies and gentlemen, just as a result of how awkwardly designed the stage is, you might find yourself backtracking by complete accident, you know? And it is exceptionally easy to do that, so I just advise being careful about that, ladies and gentlemen. What can I tell you? From time to time as well, we're going to be seeing these like water funnel things. Sometimes they shoot out fire, sometimes they shoot out water. Doesn't really make a difference what they shoot out. The water and fire will both hurt you. But whenever you see these, sometimes you'll find some of these water funnels that have like not so much pegs, but they have like a platform on top of them, which you can basically ride to your heart's content. For example, by here, wait for this to go back up, bada bing, bada boom, I can now ride it, and we need to make use of valves and what have you in the environment in order to correctly access these properly, you know, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a little bit tricksy, And a general rule of thumb I gotta give people advice to do here. Whenever you see an enemy on a far out platform, don't go after him, because you will die. In fact, 90% of my deaths while playing a stage would be me going, hey, I can kill that enemy! And then I realize a bit later on, oh, I can't kill that enemy! Oh no, never mind, I didn't want to kill that enemy anyway. Of course, I say that, now it's time to deal with Muggsy here, but first things first, I'm going to push the switch in order to access the next area. We need to push that switch, otherwise we will not be able to make any progress in the stage, ladies and gentlemen, you know. But the best way to sort of deal with Muggsy by here is run over one of these grates, and basically make sure Muggsy is a little bit behind you when you run over the grate, and that way he will basically fall straight through, and there we go, he's dead. Well, I'm lying. He's not dead. We do get a fight in later on in a boss fight, but you know, that's basically all we're gonna see from Muggsy for the majority of the stage, ladies and gentlemen. What can I tell you? Ah, I missed the third valve. Come on. It's a pain in the ass when I do that. I get all three of these now in one massive combo roll, and then I miss the very final valve, and I just think to myself, oh, well, I'm a disappointment. That is one thing I love about the roll ability, though. Like, if there's three things lined up right next to each other and they're all interactable by being able to be kicked or attacked, you know, you can activate all three things at once using the roll, and it's kind of annoying. And why would you throw a wrench?
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
What?
Ow! It didn't even look like it hit me directly. I sort of walked into it after it landed, and it was in the opposite direction, so technically I shouldn't even got hurt by that. Unless Bugs Bunny involuntarily decided to go on, ooh, shiny thing, I'll kick it! In that case, it makes sense that it hurt. I don't know, but I digress. But yeah, the stage is a little bit more confusing than any other stage we've gone to at this point, and honestly, it's... I can't say too much good things about the stage, you know. I'm trying to be as positive as I can, but this stage is just terrible, all things considered. Like, there's no real discernible way where there's no way to figure out where we're meant to go next, and because of the game's still designed in sort of like a linear Crash Bandicoot-esque gameplay mentality, it comes across as failing at being linear. And my question is, how do you fail at being linear, you know, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, you can usually have linear things and have alternate pathways, but in terms of a collectathon type game like this, it's usually a bad idea. But I don't know, I digress. Anyway, one thing that's especially annoying about the stage is a lot of the traps that you're going to find on conveyor belts and what have you. If you go to each of these traps and you get clipped by them, there is a chance that the clipping will push you off the edge of the platform as well, which means a lot of the deaths will be completely unwarranted, that you'll end up dying for no real reason. Now, don't get me wrong, you will get hurt by going into these traps, and that's necessary, but sometimes it'll just push you off the platform and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's just a pain in the ass, and I don't like it, ladies and gentlemen. What can I tell you? The stage is a nightmare. I don't think any of the enemies in the stage hold golden carrots or anything like that either, but I do like to whack them and take them out anyway, just to make sure, because this is without a doubt the easiest stage to miss items in. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we can easily miss a good couple of items in this one if we don't know where exactly to look. In fact, I almost missed one golden carrot when I was recording it. It was only by pure blind luck that I managed to find it, which I'll point out that golden carrot when we get to it, because it's not very far away, I'll tell you that much, folks. But, yeah, you might be thinking I'm dying a lot here, aren't you? Well, yeah, not nearly as much as I actually did die. I'm still editing out 90% of them, ladies and gentlemen. So, it's a bit of a nightmare, it's a bit of a pain in the arse, I'll be perfectly honest. But, yeah, this main factory itself is basically split up into two halves, and this is the end of the first half of the level. Now, the second half of the level is nowhere near as obnoxious as the first half. The second half of the level is more of a traditional linear, go from point A to point B sort of, stage, you know, folks. And normally, I wouldn't complain about this being an open-ended level too much in most cases, if it weren't for the draw distance, because I can't see anything. There's no real landmarks to discern where I am, and it just comes across as poorly designed levels, and, you know, like, compare this stage to something like, I don't know, Mayhem Temple in Banjo-Tooie, or not Spiral, Treasure Trove Cove in Banjo-Kazooie. You know, there's a massive difference in level design standards, and going by traditional collectathon standards, these aren't really well done stages. I mean, I don't usually compare games to other games in the same genre because, well, this game for the most part is trying to do its own thing. It's still trying to be a bit more of a linear collectathon platformer where everywhere you're meant to go is straightforward. But if you fail at doing what you're trying to do with the level design, you know, it needs to be pointed out. Although I do love this area, I do love these gigantic hands that are chopping stuff and whatnot. I love that. It looks amazing. Just sort of reminds me of cartoons of old, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, this is the golden carrot I was talking about that I almost missed. I only happened to just see it because I turned the camera, and yeah, it's a very tricksy one. Be sure to pick that up. It's very easy to miss. What can I tell you, ladies and gentlemen? It's the stage is not fun. What can I say? I mean, my negativity's all going to go away after this part, but Jesus Christ, it's awful. This level design's terrible. I can't really defend it in any way. I can defend the aesthetics. I can defend the idea of the level, because I love the idea of the stage. I mean, the stage is really well thought out for the most part. You know, you got all the conveyor belts and whatnot, everything sort of makes sense in a factory, kind of. Granted, I don't think I'd ever want to work at a factory if they all work, you know, factories have these gigantic choppy hands and whatnot, which I think it's pretty safe to say that they don't have these giant things in the real factories, but, you know, a lot of the stage traps do make sense in the grand scheme of things, even if they're not realistically done, they still make sense, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Like, these crushers, for example, you know, these crushers are they're used to make the cans of carrot, whatever the stuff is, squished carrot stuff, I don't know. Carrot juice? All I know is there's cans of carrot stuff lying about, and we've actually seen one of those already. In fact, the shadows that you're going to see in this stage are basically carrot cans that are just... God knows where they're placed, but if you lure an enemy to a shadow, they'll get crushed by a can of carrots, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Although, again, I want to know. I want to know. Why is this factory this treacherous, and how... It doesn't go by any realistic standards whatsoever, does it, you know? And that's something I really find weird, just because I played the likes of Banjo-Tooie, and... even the sort of warehouse level in Banjo-Tooie, it's designed like a real warehouse, which actually is to that level's detriment, honestly, in that case. But you know, I just find it really weird. And like, we're on top of a gigantic bottomless pit. It makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense considering every other level is designed like that. But, you know, if we were to look at this in an objective, non-video gamey way. You know, and a lot of these things don't really make sense. But of course, what do I know? I'm just a guy talking over video game footage for the internet, after all. But anyway, one thing that may throw you off about this area is whenever you do actually get hold of the key, you will need to try and find the actual exit of the room itself, and... there's only two of these sort of warehouse-like areas in this stage, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're trying to figure out where the exit is, basically you need to follow the boxes, because every couple of boxes will have a massive sign on them saying, "Exit this way, dumbass!" So you basically need to follow the gigantic arrow that, and basically they'll lead you to the exit, you know, ladies and gentlemen, like, there's the exit right now. Or you could find the exit early and just sort of memorize where in the level it is, so when you finally get that key off that pain in the arse rat, then you can just jet straight towards it. And honestly, that rat is a bit annoying to deal with if you don't know how to really deal with him, because of, if you do your basic kick attack on the rat, what will happen is, Bugs Bunny isn't quick enough to directly hit him, so the best way you can really deal with the rat is to actually roll attack him and do a spin attack on him, because it's just a quick way of movement, and it's a quick way of taking enemies out. When I first played this game many a year ago, I didn't know the roll. I completely forgot the roll counts as an attack, and I didn't know it actually increased my speed at all. So I never really bothered to try and use it against that mouse rat fiend. Is it a mouse or is it a rat? I'm actually not sure. But basically, when I was younger, I used to struggle because I didn't realize I could just roll into him and get the key. You know, that guy becomes a great deal easier when you figure that out. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? Indeed. But of course, now we've gone to this area, we're basically on the very last stretch of the level, ladies and gentlemen. And we do need to get this key as well. As you can probably guess by the key that got us into this segment of the stage. We need this key in order to access the boss fight of the actual level, which isn't too far away, ladies and gentlemen. Which is pretty damn cool, it tells you that much. And that's a bit of the clipping I was telling you about. Now, clearly I did get hurt by the guillotines. But they pushed me off the platform. I'm just like, that's not fair. That's just annoying. You know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even know what half of these contraptions are meant to do in the grand scheme of things. Like, I understand this is a factory. And I understand that they're basically getting carrots and they're putting them into tins, but What has flamethrowers got to do with that? Why are there rolling pins? Well, not even so much the rolling pins, because I can sort of understand them, but the rolling pins are on a normal walkway that a normal person can walk on. So, what? I'm just going to go out on a limb and just say this is a death trap designed by the Mafia for anybody who wrongs them, which actually will make sense then, because we're chasing Muggsy and Rocky around this area, so this could be where they get rid of people who are not very helpful to the organization. What can I tell you? Maybe this is why they bring people when they need to interrogate them for information. I have no idea. But anyway, moving into the expedition room here, it's time for the boss battle against Rocky and Muggsy, the very final boss battle against these two guys in the game. And what we basically need to do with this one, ladies and gentlemen, is we need to go to whatever area the Rocky is standing at, then push the corresponding button, and this will drop a couple of tons of weight on top of his head. I don't know how much weight, but it drops weight on top of his head, which inflicts damage. Every time we hurt Rocky, then Muggsy will pop on out and decide to try and shoot us flat out using his Glock here. And he will shoot a couple of times and then have to check his gun to reload it. When he does that, pick up the mallet and immediately smash him in his tootsies in order to, well, hurt him, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And that's basically all there is during this boss fight. This is the entire boss. It's a pretty easy one once you figure out what to do. The Muggsy section can probably give you a little bit of crap, because he is very, he's very prone to giving you pot shots when you don't expect it, you know, ladies and gentlemen, so it's a bit, it can be a bit tricky to deal with this, but, just keep at it, what can I tell you? And obviously, every time you hurt the enemy as well, you gain additional golden carrots to deal with. And from time to time, enemies will be on the conveyor belts themselves, and they will occasionally pop out of barrels and shoot pot shots at you, but, you know, there's no big deal. You can easily deal with these without much of an issue, and for the most part, whenever you see enemies in barrels on the conveyor belts, just ignore them, I recommend. But with that, that is it for this part, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't be sheepish, people. And when we return next time, we will be continuing onwards with some of the last, actually I say some of the last, the actual final Pirate Years level of the game. So we're getting there, folks. We're getting to the end. We're closing up the stages. Oh, aren't you excited? So thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all then anyways. Bye!